here we go. Hope this works. Epigenetics. My goodness, let's start with smiling eyes. Take deep, beautiful breaths filtered through kind and smiling eyes. Take that breath all the way down to your center. Just drop your diaphragm down and let that breath have you. And as this beautiful conscious breath hits your torso, this beautiful conscious Mona Lisa-like smile emerges on your face. And the breath goes deeper, shoulders are down, sternum is up. Now, there's a saying in yoga and Ayurveda that the quality of your breath is the quality of your life, and the quality of your life is the quality of your breath. So I want you to think of 3 adjectives now that you want to be able to describe your life with, and make sure they describe your breath right now. So deep, beautiful, gorgeous, flowing, liquid, juicy, loving, kind, compassionate, expansive, curious breaths filtered through kind and smiling eyes. Bring the breath deeper. Bring it all the way down to the sacrum. Feel that sacrum start to move, start to breathe. The sacrum's your lung now. Breathe side to side. Feel it expand. Now when this breath hits the sacrum, the breath hits the spine. And when it hits the spine gladdens. And it does this little shimmy, rotates around, undulates a little bit. And it starts to extend. It extends down to ground you. This is the Gam Ganapatiye Namaha. And it extends up to inspire you. This is the wisdom goddess. This is Om Aim Shri Saraswatiye Namaha. As the spine extends, lifts the head higher and higher to the Brahmarandha, where the 3 sutras meet. It's lifting so high that the chin has to tuck. If you do it right, this is I would average to say this is the most important asana, this pose right here. When the head lifts, chin tucks, then the head rotates back a little bit. Shoulders down, sternum up, breath is going down to the sacrum. And there's a sweet spot there. With the muscles in the back of the neck and the head, they pull, and they start pulling your eyes, corners of your eyes into your temples. Your eyes go into the temples. Your eyes become the shape of almonds. And you feel this sweet spot when you're lifted. This is why the whole yoga books have like 8 poses in there. 6 of them would be sitting poses. 1 in inversion, 1 fire pose. It's all about sitting, and it's all about this moment. Chin I call it Buddha chin. Buddha chin. 4 fingers from the chest. So this is an important pose because this is the asana of Tejas, the position of Tejas. Tejas is the Shakti of Siddhi, the power of all accomplishment. So your Tejas will get hijacked if you're not careful. So at this point, anytime you invoke Tejas, you set the intention. And a great intention are these Shantipat mantras from the Upanishads. The Upanishads are these gorgeous books of poetry, distilled Vedas, distilled down into this gorgeous poetry. And the Shantipat mantras are these mantras that when you chant them, Just this whole zone, this orb of peace, balance, symmetry, and harmony is generated. So this mantra goes like this. Sahanao Bhavatu. Sahanao. And that's like, may Spirit take care of us, may we take care of each other. Sahanao Bhunaktu. May Spirit feed us. May we feed each other. Sahaviryam Kadavavahe. May we empower ourselves in ways that empower each other. Tejasvinavati Tamasti. May everything we do be brilliant. Amavid Visavahe. May we never speak ill of each other. In fact, when we speak true of each other, we be speaking true of the highest forms of each other. Otherwise, you crack the matrix. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace to the three sources of our karma. So watch the breath now. As you watch the breath leaves side channels, enters the center channel. Breath comes to center, body comes to center. You're breathing into your sacrum, spine extends, head is lifted. The whole asana goes into the sweet spot for the tejas. That is a symmetric body. Breath is in center, body in center, mind comes to center. Centered mind, clear, quiet, cognizant, and luminous. Thoughts come, let them come. Thoughts stay, let them stay. Thoughts go, let them go. Now with all these mind, breath, body and center, put your awareness in that center. This is presence. Now, in this presence, as this presence, just ask yourself, what do you want? It's all based on this and the answer to this. What do you want? Like, what do you need to do? What has to happen? Where if that didn't happen, you'd feel like you're squandering your life. And if it did happen, people's heads would turn and they say, oh my God, that is what life loving to live looks like right there. What is that? What must you do? Very important question. I always have to ask that. Okay. Back to the breath. I want you to cognize a mantra. There's a mantra always in the breath. It's Soham. So on the in-breath, hum on the out-breath. Want to be more cleansing? Hum on the in-breath, sa, hum sa, sa on the out-breath. Deep, gorgeous, steady breaths. Next, just make the out-breath twice as long as the in-breath. In fact, you can put your fingers on your carotid. Breathe in for 4 beats in the heart. Hold for 2 beats. Breathe out for 8 beats. We're talking about epigenetics today, but so much of that, to keep these positive epigenetic changes happening, you have to stay balanced. And there's so many different balances that you're not even aware of. And so many of these balances cut down to the balance between the feminine and the masculine. And in this culture, there's such a massive bias to carry and run and react to the masculine energy. It's way out of balance. And this is what's driving so many of the negative epigenetic changes. So right here, as you're watching the breath, you're already balancing several of these, of the masculine and the feminine and different spectrums. And as you push that breath out, make that exhale longer. It's an important one. So nice. So come to Namaste Mudra and just like move just your phalanges, just your fingers, keep it symmetric, and then phalanges at wrists, keep it symmetric. Now phalanges, wrists, elbows, at the shoulders, cervical, thoracic, just move it around, and then go up into Tadasana, and now do the same thing except just lose the symmetry. This is actually a yoga pose. It's called Pawan Muktasana. All right, so now you're here. We're here. Stay here now. Just keep that same breath. Just watch the breath. Nice, gorgeous. Keep your 3 adjectives going this whole time. I tell you, like so much of the best medicine is free. Like when I write protocols, those protocols might have like 9 or 10 or 12 elements to it. It's only in the last 1 or 2 where the person has to spend money. I'm not into priests. There's nothing that has to get between you and your wellness. You can get there on your own. So epigenetics. How's this going to work? There it is. Hey. Hope that happens. We should have had him check it out. So, epigenetics. I remember when I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you. And then I'm going to tell you. And then afterwards, I'm going to tell you what I told you. So before we even go into slides, I'm just going to let you know. So used to be where people thought like the brain was king and the brain ruled everything. But now they're finding that so much of what's king, if you want to say it, is actually the terrain, especially the terrain in the gut, things like this. And in fact, 90% of the signals of the vagus nerve, which is the main nerve that runs the parasympathetic nervous system, 90% of that is information going to the brain. It's like telling the brain what to do. It's interesting, and that is a very cool moment of masculine and feminine. The brain is very saying that the brain is in charge is a very masculine idea, but saying that the terrain or the milieu is in charge, that's the terrain is feminine. So, in the same way, like we used to think that the gene was in charge, like anything that the gene would say or do, or that's what's going to happen. It's this like big chunk of firm destiny. If you had these genes, it was just set. And now, same thing. We have found that your genes won't change necessarily, but the expression of them will change. That's the genes are the genome. The expression of the genes are called the phenome. So the genome remains static, but the phenome can change. So here's an example of changing phenome. Like up in the mountains where we work, there's all these panthers, these leopards, and you can have 2 sisters. One is, and they pretty much have the same genetics, but one will be black, one will be spotted. Same genes, 2 different expressions, 2 different phenomes. And so there's that, and then they're finding that, okay, the phenome can change, but what's changing it and in which direction? And it's so much common sense. There's all these classic herbs and yeah, honey, I'm just going for it. Yeah, so there's all these, there's these herbs and foods and practices and protocols that if you do them, you start telling that gene to express itself in a really positive way. And there's all these things that that you can do where it's going to tell the gene to express it in its most negative way. It's all about probability. There's like anything else. There's like the 95% probability of your own personal potential, and then maybe there's 60. And depending on what you do, you can either hit that 95 or hit that 60 or lower. And so suddenly, and the other thing is ostensibly this is inherited. So your phenome, like your genes for sure are inherited by your kids, but the phenome also is possibly inherited. There's a little controversy there, but it is, which also changes everything.
That's the phenome groups. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, you can talk. You can go for it.
Are you recording this right now?
Yeah.
Is it possible to pause it for 1 second? I'm sorry.
Okay. So there's a question. What is your question?
Oh, it's okay.
No, go for it. It's okay.
I wanted to ask if we could say a prayer for my uncle who just passed away.
No, okay. Okay.
Are you going to talk about the herbs that can help us in our optimal expression?
Yeah. So the question is, am I going to talk about the herbs that are going to help us? Yes, I shall. And I'm not sure if I hit play here, what's going to happen, but we'll just have to see. So I just thought it was really interesting. I saw this Don Quixote with the DNA. And so we're going to start this talk just about one of the great sciences of the Vedic system is Vastu Shastra, which is the Vedic science of harmonious design. And it's basically based on just whatever was there a minute after the Big Bang. All this gorgeous sacred geometry, but even deeper stuff that people don't know. Like it's only in this Vedic system. It's like the qualities of the directions, things like this, and different ords. So that's Vastu Shastra, and just going to look at this double helix a little bit through the eyes of Vastu. Beautiful thing, shows up in art. So here, this is this helix of the planets. This is the planets moving. That's the sun in the middle. The sun and all the planets following it are just moving in this incredible arc, circle, at the level of the galaxy. So we think that the planets are moving around the sun, and they are, but the sun's cruising as well. And so that causes these incredible vortexes or helixes, and as above, so below. Yat pinde, tat brahmande. This is the Vedic thing. Like it's so interesting to see that our DNA is shaped exactly like our solar system moves through space. And this is the cool thing about the Vedic system, is that it seems like it's complex and there's so many different things to learn, but really there's very few things to learn that show up at all these different levels. In other words, the Vedic system is all about this fractalated universe. It's marvelous. It's brilliant. More art. So that swastika is also, that is the double helix, right? It's just a cross section of it. And it's interesting that's like this. One of the things that when we get sick, we have these basic codes. And those codes get corrupt or something drops out. So often wellness is just like updating those codes or refreshing them or reminding them. According to Ayurveda, one of the ways that a plant treats a certain thing is that plant will have the original codes for that, and it will help the body remember those original codes, and then the body isn't sick. So the swastika, swasta means health, and ka is like a maker of health. So it's the swastika is a maker of health. It's like it reinstalls codes. It's unfortunate that it got borrowed as it did. That, by the way, was a Himalayan immersion that we did a couple years ago, and we're going to do another one this autumn, autumn 2018, October 7th to the 24th. It's beautiful immersion based. It's all going to be on the yoga of time, specifically the equinox sadhana, which is called Navratri, the 9 nights of the goddess. It is the time to do a restorative cleanse. And the overlay on that is going to be the nectar self-reflection, which is a gorgeous collection of practices where you just get, there's all these gorgeous nectar practices in yoga and Ayurveda, and nobody really, I guess, knows them because nobody seems to do them. But we're going to do them up in the Himalayas. So hope you join. So there it is. There's that helix again. Here's some, it's all over the place. I love it. Helix. This is the collagen. Notice that the collagen has a triple helix. That's why it's so strong. And now check this out. So here's there's several ways that you can derive this. But there is this double helix. Now, to start looking like something. There it is. The double helix is one of the, check it out, 1, 2, 3, bam. Yeah, so the double helix is one of the derivations of the infinity sign. There's several of them. Like, for instance, the path of Venus through the sky between the morning star and the evening star is also an infinity sign. There's a few of them. But that has such a clue. In nature, all over the place. One of my few heroes on this planet, Viktor Schauberger, like his work with these flows. Tulsi Viva is when Tulsi marries this stone, and it's and that stone is said to be Vishnu. It's not like sacred to Vishnu. That is said to be Vishnu himself. And so it's like the math innate to that, the geometry innate to that. It makes you think. And of course, using it all over in architecture and consciousness. Glory Window, Dallas, Texas. Marvelous. Fiddlehead. So, takeaways. Yes, this is these patterns. There's basic vibration. That would be kind of like the vata, and then these patterns rise out of it. These patterns are like the strategy, and that's more like the pitta. Life forms on these patterns as life forms. And then as one of these life forms, we can design as we've been designed. It's an interesting thing. One of the premises here is that anything you design designs you. Inspired by nature, of course. Inspired. I think, you ever play the game, If I Was the King of the World? What should you do? There's a bunch of things I do, but one of the things I'd do is I'd make it almost illegal to say the word nature without preceding it with the word our. Like, it's not like go out in nature, like our nature. Always our nature. Yeah, that could change things. Spirals. Yeah. Okay, onwards. So, Tulsi, now we're going to start. There's these books in the tradition. They're called the Puranas. All of these books here are the Puranas, and in them, like you read things about things like, okay, you stand on your head for 3 hours, you're going to be totally enlightened. The deal is that's okay. It's probably, it's not true, of course, but it's in the Vedic system, in the Sanskrit, they don't have like bold and underlined. So how do you know something's important? There's 3 ways to do it. It's like the first thing that's spoken, or the thing that's repeated all the time, or hyperbole is a big part of it. So, I have grown like hundreds of tons of Tulsi. I've written, I think, around 12,000 pages on Tulsi. It's unbelievable. And so just reading all these books, and over, I would see these things like just 1 leaf of Tulsi and 7 generations is going to be enlightened or whatever, some hyperbolic thing. And I just thought, okay, that's part of the exegesis. Exegesis is the word for like how you translating the text. And I just tossed it off as being hyperbole. But then about 20 years ago, 25 years ago, this whole science of epigenetics started coming up, and doing the research, Tulsi is one of the great epigenetic herbs. One of the great herbs to generate positive epigenetic events in your body, which you basically need to have if you want to have longevity. Like every day we're being decayed and crushed and sliced and divided, and the only way you keep it together is if there's this constant stream of positive epigenetic events. Kind of like just taking the high road, taking the just making the best out of what you've been given. And Tulsi is one of the best herbs for that. And then in the science, it is said that these changes in the phenome, these changes in the expression of the gene, are inheritable. And so suddenly, all of this stuff that I was putting off to hyperbole, I'm suddenly now realizing that these people knew about epigenetics because you're talking about it a lot. So. And what's the clue? I don't know if you know Tulsi a little bit. What's the clue that this is like a great epigenetic plant? Do you want to carpet?
No.
Like this plant, Aximum sanctum, has 2 varieties. One is called Rama Tulsi. It's green and this tall. One is called Krishna Tulsi. It's like magenta and this tall. Same exact genes. And so it's like for the ethnopharmacologist in me, it's like this huge like neon sign that this is a great plant for epigenetics. It's just telling you right there. Yeah. So these books, they just go off on it. And we'll just go through here. Whoever worships with Tulsi leaves is freed from all sin. It's not the Christian form of sin. Sin in this case is just like something that just blocks the flow of intelligence and wellness and just in your whole system. That's a sin. Untouched. Okay, if you worship with the Tulsi, you remain untouched, like a lotus. It's untouched. One leaf offered is like 200 grams of gold. And like you think, it's really hyperbolic, right? But there is another thing going on here. Like if you read this in Sanskrit, like if you read that sentence, 1 leaf equals 200 grams of gold, it's a code. Like everything is double or triple entendre. And so, yeah, if you don't know that, like the poor translators who translate these things, they have to just translate the face value, but there's always codes inside. 1 leaf is equal to pearls, rubies, diamonds. Tulsi removes sins from all lifetimes. No disease. You'll live in heaven. And then here's the thing. It'll benefit your family for 7 generations. And there's the Vedic exegesis thing. Yes. First thing's super important. The first word, the first word of the first Veda, the whole system is based on the Vedas, 4 Vedas. The first Veda is Rig Veda. The first word of the first verse of the first mandala of the Rig Veda is Agni. So you just know everything is based on that. Hyperbole. Yes. So there it is. That row of books right there. That's where you're finding all this like 2,000-year-old epigenetic science in the myths. For instance, there she is, Tulsi. They think Tulsi's a plant. I mean, if you've seen the whole thing of botany of desire, Tulsi is such a botany of desire plant. In 1997, she was like in one country basically. By 2005 or 6, she's in 80 countries, and and I was there. I mean, I was the core of that, and it was so obviously not humans. It was so obviously her. So here's these things again. How it's so highly, and it's all over. These Puranas, these tales, they're basically for Vishnu, the sustainer. There's a third for Shiva, the reabsorber, you could say, and then there is a third for Devi, the Durga, and all throughout all of them, Tulsi's praised. All these different things. 7 generations again. So there's the Iroquois, the great law of the Iroquois. 7 generations ahead is how you had to think to benefit your children. There's something about this 7 generations. Yeah, Exodus. God will mess, if you mess up, God's going to mess up 4 of your generations. Also, this weird thing about this jealous God. Yeah. This might be fun. Nature uses only the longest threads to weave her patterns, so each small piece of her fabric reveals the organization of the entire tapestry. Look at that. Wow, Richard Feynman. There's his lectures on physics right up there. Yeah. Yat Pinde, Tat Brahmande, that's as above, so below. We can move through this, but yeah. But this is if we had more time, this is to go into that is so it's basic Vedic string theory. So we'll go through this classic gene theory kind of fast. Everybody knows it. The gene rules everything. Genes passed down. It's all static. Oh, and then one gene codes for one protein, basically. But it's a replication. These are these three processes, and it is ostensibly in this one direction only. Sorry for going so fast, but that whole theory is kind of out the window anyway. Stem cells. So one of the ways that we still have this epigenetics is in our stem cells. Like when you're first conceived, when that happens, every cell, like until you're something like 1,000 cells big or something, every single cell can be any cell. Every single cell has the ability to be any cell, has the memory. And that's true. You can take any cell in your body and it will know how to be anything. Your fingernail will know how to be a liver cell. The code's in there. It's just a bunch of them are shut off. So that's an example of epigenetics, where the gene is shut off or another one's turned on. Yeah, I love that one. That come back. One of the coolest things about the stem cells is that they can make themselves. They can make anything, but they can make themselves. That self-renewal, that's kind of a key thing. So the thing with the stem cells is, if you can get the stem cells going and keep what that's going to do, it's always going to keep an original code at hand, like an original backup of the different codes you need to make everything in your body. And these are these 4 examples of epigenetics. I cannot, I'm allergic to reading slides. So Alden, you want to read it?
Sure. Epigenetics. Stably heritable phenotype resulting from changes in a chromosome without alterations in the DNA sequence.
Expressions. And then,
Wait, could you go back one? Sorry, I know you were recording.
no, it's all good. Stably.
Heritable phenotype resulting from. Okay, is that the definition? Is that how you're defining it?
That is one definition. That was,
Yeah.
it's a little bit old now.
Okay.
Changes in how the gene is expressed that are caused by hundreds of external. And this is the juicy part. Like what's changing it? Everything's changing it. Like, the cell phone radiation that's going through us, the sounds, everything is changing it. It's so interesting that in all this stuff, like all of this Ayurveda, all this in Jyotish and looking at somebody's chart, so much of it goes down to this particle wave nature of light. And so this whole thing, like before we thought the particle version of this would be that the gene is in charge and it does its thing. But now the wave theory of light, which comes in and says, no, like there's a lot more elements in that wave, in that whole terrain, and that is what that spark, that single particle is listening to. It's not like the particle is informing the wave, the wave is informing the particle. To some extent, it goes either way. And this is so key too, for people to we'll talk about that in a bit.
Transgenerational inheritance of traits acquired by personal experience, environment, diet, thoughts, reactions, etc.
No doubt. So like these things, and so you can have these mental ruts, like these tendencies, where you're just cruising through life, and then some trigger comes and it's like you're driving across a playa, and you just come to this place where the ruts have just dug in, and you don't want to go that way, but the ruts just grab your tires, and there you go. That's vasanas.
That's precisely what he explained was not actually the case.
Well, no, I'm talking. I mean, that's the nature of vasana. I'm not that sentence wasn't about epigenetics.
Oh, I see. Yeah, of course, regarding vasana.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then these ruts just get weird, and then that emotional state, I know it can bring down the expression of your wellness for sure, and according to this, your genes. Like I can so tell the difference between like when some emotional state grabs me, or when I just like keep lifting out of it, and just it can be there, but I'm free of it. Like my wellness, I can feel my wellness so fundamentally different. And so ostensibly part of that sense of lifting out of it is either generating a positive epigenetic event or avoiding a negative one. And so this is this shows these two different ways of how the phenome can change. With the histones, which is for some reason my favorite, and the methylation. I'll show you why the histones are my favorite too. So here's all these things, like the resveratrol, the quercetin, the curcumin, all these like flavonoids, these different phytomolecules from the quercetin is in so many different herbs and plants and fruits. The curcumin, of course, is in the turmeric. The resveratrol is in the hosho wu and the wine, things like this. And so now we know even deeper, like how these herbs work. The folic acid, the B12, the choline, is also had it at the level of changing that phenome. I love it. And it's either activating a gene that normally wouldn't be activated, or silencing one. And it's just exciting the idea of just having more cells just know, just have more ability. We'll talk about it in a sec. There's this herb called amla that is supposedly incredible at telling your cells how to remember. No, skip it. So this is why I love the histones. You see it's an octagon. It's a bagua. And the histones are bagua. The histones are these molecules, and around the histones are wrapped the DNA. And so then the histones holds on to, in this bagua shape, holds on to the DNA in different places, and it will let go in different places depending on what molecules, what's happening around it. And that can be triggered again by like the quercetin or the resveratrol. This phytochemistry can trigger it, but also like these moods can trigger it. You know, I saw this test. I read this paper where they took the saliva of a bunch of people, a bunch of happy people, normal people. I mean, just like people just in their normal state, and then a bunch of really angry people. And then they took an extract. They made an extract. The extract of the angry people could kill a rat. Wow. I mean, angry people have rat poison in their mouth, and so you just have to. So it's not like somebody can say, well, how can this anger, which is just like not physical, affect the genes? It's generating rat poison. If it's generating rat poison, it can surely mess with your genes. Why is methylation? Turned off methylation. I'll blast through this too. This is, you know, when I teach, okay, part of the Veda Mandala is this whole Mandala of Vedic Sciences, right? The Yoga and the Ayurveda and the Vastu Shastra and the Jyotish and the Yagna and the Yatra, the Bhuta Vidya, the Darpa and the yogic science of relationship, Advaita, the beautiful things. There's so many cool things. And in the yoga, like when I teach that, it's such a cool thing to have all these different tools, because normally people see the yams and the niyams, the inner and outer codes of conduct. They're like, oh, you have to do this and you have to do that, and you know, the ahimsa and these things. And yes, it's a good idea, but they just see it at that mass level. If they saw it at the more from an energy-centric worldview, or especially from a spirit-centric worldview, everything would change. And you see the medicinal; these have blatant medicinal values, the yamas and niyamas. And so I have it all worked out. And plus all these definitions that you normally hear for these yamas, like brahmacharya is like celibacy, like ahimsa is non-violence, it's cute. So dharma, just looking at this word, dharma, what is firmly established, maintained, following, maintaining. Ritu is like the rhythm, I call it the yoga of time too. To his path of cosmic creativity. Yeah, so beautiful how it goes. We will go through this. So, biological clocks. I took this section out too, but that's such a cool thing. There's at least 7 different biological clocks. Like there's one from the epigenetics. There's a telomerase, which is the state of that, which is this little cap on your genes to keep them from unraveling. And what is the champion of that, keeping that? Turmeric. Where's my book? So you know that meditation we did in the beginning? That was all about, there's all these like hordes and legions and tsunamis of masculine stressors on us, just pounding down. When that happens, then the sympathetic nervous system gets locked shut. Normally the sympathetic, which is the fight or flight, only gets activated when there's a tiger around or whatever. You run for 10 seconds, you're up the tree, you're good. And then the sympathetic nervous system is turned off, parasympathetic comes back, the feminine nervous system. But in our culture now, it's like 24/7. We're always triggered. And so what happens, in that 10 seconds when the sympathetic is locked in to get away from that tiger, you don't have to digest your food. No. So digestion shut down. You don't have to make babies. So boom, that's shut down. You don't even have to make brain. And the part of the brain that's turned off first, amygdala, which is the part of the brain that turns off the sympathetic, which means you get a hair trigger. And that has been a evolutionary advantage to us. If you're in a dangerous place for a week or something, you have a hair trigger, you survive. But not for like years. And so when the sympathetic is always locked down, then your whole body, everything goes into short-term strategy, long-term. Part of that short-term strategy is running rocket fuel, which is toxic stuff through your body. And so everything gets fried, literally fried. And so that rocket fuel in your body running long-term is seriously negative, seriously produces cascades of negative epigenetic events. No fun. And so what we did there in that meditation, we got just a part of the way through it. What that meditation is about is to release the sympathetic and bring on the parasympathetic, and make that balance. That's an innate way where like 90% of the people are imbalanced between the feminine and masculine. They're imbalanced on the level of the nervous system, because the masculine nervous system is just locked in. When that's locked in, my goodness, that generates these negative epigenetic events, and the kind of the worst version of that is those that then lead into PTSD. And if you read the bioscience, the peer-reviewed international bioscience journals about epigenetics, at least a quarter of it is tuned to PTSD and dealing with that. So it's such a sad thing. It gives you so much compassion for people, because it's like, you can say, well, say whatever you want to them, but that their pain and it's practically impossible for them to control that. But if you balance the way towards balancing that, the first step is balancing the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and parasympathetic. And there's the vagus. How is that done? Pouring all this energy into the vagus, this right energy. It's so cute. Like people, the Western people think that calm is sedation. As long as you think that, you'll never balance it. You cannot balance the sympathetic with the parasympathetic passively. It has to be an active effort. And so you have to pour an enormous amount of the power of calm into that parasympathetic. And most people can't even rock that concept. Power of calm. I thought calm was an absence of power. No. In yoga, calm is an enormous amount of great power and strength and centeredness. So you have to get the vagus right. And what we were doing there, that initial meditation, that was actually the first two parts of a 10-part meditation called Danda Pranayama. An incredible practice. And yeah, there's a branch in this slide. You see a branch of the vagus coming to the throat. That's why it works. That's why this breathing and being aware works, and also humming. Everybody's getting on the bandwagon of this imbalanced autonomic system. Like the psychotherapists are on it now because, without that balance, nothing's going to work. And so then they're researching all these different ways to invoke it, and guess what they're finding? Like, it's so cute. They're finding like gentle humming, like oh, it's like every single thing that they talk about has a yoga component. So you might think that these little smiling eyes, this little cutesy thing, right? No, it's like the smiling eyes is the compassionate kindness of the Bodhisattva. The Mona Lisa smile, the knowing wisdom and joy of the Bodhisattva, the Buddha chin. Do you need a rug? No. Sure, you can have this one. No, yeah, okay. Smiling eyes, the compassionate kindness of the Bodhisattva. The Mona Lisa smile, the knowing wisdom and joy of the Bodhisattva. This Buddha chin, when the head is lifted and it's slightly tucked, that's this empowered serenity. Like if you nail that position, by my reckoning, the most important position in the whole situation. This is this gorgeous empowered serenity. The almond eyes, like when almond eyes start going back like this. This is this attentive perception of the Bodhisattva, and then you go into this defending the good without judging the bad. The Bodhisattva Vow, part of it is a beautiful thing. You basically vow not to be enlightened till all hells are empty. Epigenetic herbs are now the moment you've all been waiting for. I'm sure you don't want this.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, we'll skip that. So here's this amla. There's different cleanses that you can do in Ayurveda. And different. They have different frequencies. For instance, the number one cleanse is the Navratri, which is the 9 nights starting at the new moon closest to the equinox. This is yeah. Yeah, and then you can do like things like Panchakarma, like once a year. But there's this thing that you do every 60 years. Like the yogis do it every 60 years. 60 when you're 60 years old, 100, 120, 180. Like Tapavan Swami, he recently died at 185 after doing this 3 times. And so this deep, and what happens is you go into what's called Kuti Pravekshana, where you go into a hut within a hut within a hut. And so it's all dark, and everything's dark, and they feed you. But what 90% of your diet is this herb here, and your teeth fall out, they grow back, your hair falls out, the nails, everything gets reborn in this time. And 90% of the diet is this. It's treated, but this is an amazing herb. This is amla. And it's one of the few 5-taste herbs in the world. It's definitely a magic herb. And then the small forest ones are the best. And of the forest ones, these high Himalayan ones. Like one of the things I do in the Himalayas in the falls is I get this stuff. So there's that. Then the turmeric. Turmeric. There's a turmeric book. There is turmeric root. I don't know if you've ever seen a turmeric flower, but it's a glorious thing. Yeah, like the turmeric grows really dense, and then you kind of like look through it, and bam, these flowers just popping out at you. There is the turmeric celebrated. Like, imagine, like, these festivals like this, and the uses of these herbs. It's tradition, right? But these traditions are set by these saints, who just know that this is going to be good for them. So they put it into the culture as part of these holidays. This is one of the ways where you see that the tradition arises out of all this compassion. It's not like the Western medicine that arises out of this greed and exploitation, it's so, yeah, it rises out of compassion.
Mm-hmm.
So the turmeric, if you look at the molecules in there, it's a blend of all these different plants. That's my brother Daniel Sullivan in the middle there. He is creating temple turmeric.
Mm-hmm.
So check it out. So incredibly positive epigenetic. This is just this one table out of this one paper, and you don't have to read it, but like the relatively low dose for 4 different mechanisms. We talked about these 2 mechanisms that you can generate positive epigenetic events. There's more, and turmeric hits 4 of them. Like here, if you and the molecular mechanism, and then it's the time. Look at this duration: 5 days, 7 days. There's going to be hours in here, and then targets. Like you look at these what it's going after, all these different types of cancers. Okay, prostate cancer, pancreatic cancer, glioblastoma, prostate leukemia, lymphoma, synovial neuroblastoma cells, colon cancer, all these different lines. 1 day, 3 days, it's incredible. That's where a confluence of factors comes in. Here, ginger is also like one of them. But check this out. This is interesting. It's the shagols that do it. And if you know, I don't know if you know this, but there's the fresh, in turmeric and in ginger, the fresh plant and the dry plant are 2 different herbs. Because normally the dehydration process isn't a chemical process. It's just like, it's water. But in this case, it causes a chemical reaction, and the gingerols, which are kind of like sweet and nice and gentle, turn into the shagols. And the shagols, it says here twice as spicy. That's not true. It's like 10 times as spicy. Mm. And they're so sharp. In fact, dry ginger is one of the sharpest, hottest plants in all of Ayurveda. But so it's the dry that's extra good at these positive epigenetic events, which is interesting. These really sharp, intense molecules, and you see that in the molecules of phytochemistry that fights the chronic inflammation. Inflammation is like this hot state, right? This hot, chaotic, like just war. And what treats it? You'd think like some cold molecule, like the azulines and chamomile would treat it. But it's the really spicy ones that treat it. It's a cool reason why. I'll tell you someday. More epigenetic foods. Ghee. There's so many different, not also things, ghee, so many different, it's like 100 different molecules and incredible chemistry in there. Fear extinction, I like that. That's actually a term out of psychotherapy. Yes. This again, like if you have ICC, you'll see this right away where like this is an obvious major epigenetic moment where all these bees have the same genetics, genetically identical as I understand. And then they give royal jelly to just one of them, and bam, she becomes a queen. And then she lives like whatever, 20 times longer. She does all this work. She's like 10 times heavier, and only so you know that royal jelly is going to be phenomenal at generating positive epigenetic events. And so I have this blend that I make. It's just a small little tub. The cost of goods is like $100, and I made this formula. It's called Amrit Avalaya. Just to be able to take a lot of this royal jelly. It's a great formula. That, but you don't have to. you can see this on your own. There's just so many different things that royal jelly will generate. And like in the Chinese medicine, it is one of the greatest times. Here, like in the diet, these patterns, these are 6 molecules that tend to be really good at generating positive epigenetic events. Folic acid. These are some things in that. Just look at the patterns like avocado, this cruciferous, choline, salmon, the cruciferous plants again. Do you know that they're all one species? Like there's the broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cauliflower, they're one species of plant. They're not, they're varieties of a single set of genes. The zinc, nuts, we knew that. Dark chocolate, pumpkin seeds, oysters. Get that. When we did this practice, start off, one of the things I said, drop the shoulders, lift the sternum. There's a sweet spot where if you do that, like the breath goes right down to the sacrum. But another reason why we do that is to give the thymus space. The thymus, which is putting out all those T cells. Sources of selenium, lychee, that's interesting. Kiwi, dates, mango, boom, there it goes. And then these polyphenols. My goodness, when you start studying these herbs, they are like one herb can have like hundreds of molecules, and it's just like they're so incredible. They're so marvelous. I did the math. They've been on the planet something like 1,200 times longer than we've been on the planet. So you do like they've gotten. One of the ways you can tell that human intelligence is inferior is because it thinks it's superior. And I so these polyphenols, more chocolate, so many spices too. Elderberry, chokeberry, so many of these berries. In general, just you rainbow diet it. Like make sure your diet is really colorful. Epigenetic Navratri, okay. A basic to the Navratri restorative cleanse is you drop the calories and you increase nutrition. So no grains, no beans, and like greens, like green soups. And if you look at the research, pretty much nothing has been proven more deeply and conclusively to generate longevity than caloric restriction. Yeah, and so these, what it deregulates these are enzymes related to cancer. These are enzymes eventually related to cancer too, but just helping the cell, helping govern the cell life. So this practice of caloric restriction is basic in the Ekadasi fast, which is fasting on the 11th day of the moon, which is all over the Vedas, or just being like a fantastic thing, and the Navratri. And here we are. Take a picture of that. This is where I want you guys to be. This is where I spend so much time here every year. I have one of my gardens here growing the like incredibly rare orchids. Like the most restorative plants in the whole Ayurveda, in the whole tradition, are the roots of these high Himalayan orchids. And this is the spot where I'm cultivating. You could see me, like I got Yeah, just such a grin on my face. I love this place. And this, from here, you drive another like 10 hours up to where I grow the kutki. Mm-hmm.
Is that Dunagiri?
Yeah,
Or,
Dunagiri, yep. Epigenetic mind. I could stop here. This next section is really cool. And this shows how your mind and emotions and thoughts can just, just nails it down, just like breaks it down to, I weave all this bioscience with and I basically take the physiology and the anatomy of yoga and then hang all the bioscience on that and then put all the herbs in with it. It's fun. But I think we will stop here because I'm sure, has it been like an hour? Yeah. And then we can save that for later. And so, okay, when we end these things, we always chant this mantra. And the mantra basically goes, complete perfect fullness is this, complete perfect fullness is that, adds complete perfect fullness to complete perfect fullness, and you have complete perfect fullness. However, in the case where you take complete perfect fullness out of complete perfect fullness, in that case, you end up with complete perfect fullness. Come on, battery. So it goes like this. We'll chant Om 3 times, and then we'll chant the mantra 3 times and close. Goes like this. Mm-hmm. And you have to spend 1/3 of the time on them because Om is 3 letters, A-U-M. So, you get that vibration. And you don't chant the mantra out, you chant the mantra down your throat. Like, people, what we're doing, this is releasing the sympathetic lockdown and autonomic. That's going to help stop the negative epigenetic events and start the positive events. And we're going to the mantra. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamidashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamidashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamida Purnamidam Purnat Purnamidashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Beautiful, beautiful. I hope that beautiful. Hope that worked for you. And if you hear this, let me see here. So if you watch this video, it might have just gotten recorded up on YouTube. So if you watch it, then feel free to send a donation to PayPal, Prashanti, PRASHANTI at igc.org, Institute of Global Communication.org, and and many more coming at you. So thanks so much, and fare thee well.
Thank you.
Yes.